Going to open the July 26, 2023, 6:15 p.m. meeting of the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. And we're going to start at 6:25. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places open and physically accessible to the public. So, excuse me. There's a typo. I'm going to read it as so long, but the word is jong. So long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom meeting ID 818-0509-7403 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Alicia Hersey at ahersey@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 142 prior to the meeting. And first, excuse me for a second, I have James's address. So before I start the agenda, if it's okay with you all, I will jump off and send it to James, okay?
Thank you.
Oh, no worries. I, of course, now have to log into my town email, but that's okay. I can do that. Huh. And Cindy Knox is not with us this evening. She set me up so that I can run the meeting. She has another. She has another appointment this evening. And you know, for someone who doesn't work full time for the town, she's pretty busy with us.
Yes, she is.
Okay, great. Now let me get back to the screen where I can see you all. There we are. So our first part of the general business is to approve the agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Pat, I got to hear it. Sorry, kid.
Find it. Can you hear me?
Yes, Pat Bagnan is going to second it. Any discussion?
I'll leave the microphone on.
Yeah, thanks. No discussion. I'm going to go by the Hollywood Squares. Sean, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Cindy.
Aye.
Thank you, Pat.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So next on our agenda is to approve the June 28, 23 meeting minutes. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at them. May we have a motion for approval?
I say we approve them.
Okay, so I'm going to go with that's a motion from Pat. Sean, are you going to second that motion?
I'll second it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Sean, how do you vote?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye. Jeff, you know I'm not that one. Okay.
The chair
I do my
vote-
own thing. Sorry, guys.
That's quite all right, Pat. I'm fully open to this. Okay, as long as you enjoy it as much as I do, we'll be fine. And the chair votes in the affirmative. Next on our agenda is board elections, and I'm going to start this with an announcement. It turns out that we don't have a full crew this evening, so I'd like to, at this point, we can think about board elections later. And it turns out that Jake was not able to reconnect with the town in time to get himself reinstated as a member of the Affordable Housing Trust. So we have an open spot right now. And I'd like to propose to the trust and the people sitting in the meeting now that we take letters of interest for the open seat. And if it's okay with you all, I'm happy to continue as the acting chair, the interim chair, for a meeting or two more to get to this. But I'd like to get letters of interest in before our next meeting, and maybe even have people join us at the next meeting if we're successful in getting letters of interest to fill that last seat.
That sounds good.
I think it sounds very positive.
Okay,
In the
thanks.
right direction. So, yeah,
So I'm going to make a motion as a chair that we postpone board elections and advertise for letters of interest to fill the empty seat on the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland, for seconding that. Any further discussion? Hearing
I have
none.
one
Sean?
question.
Yes, go ahead, Pat. Yes, Pat.
One question, I'm sorry.
No,
Where is that advertised?
I will ask that it be put on the town website
Okay,
and
anywhere else? I ask only because I don't always go on the site. So I don't know, like the town has a Facebook page, that kind of thing. I think probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think probably more people see it there than what go on the town site.
yeah, and so to be
And I
honest
could
with
be
you,
wrong.
Pat, I was kind of skating between the lines, if you will. I will ask the town manager's office to put it in all the usual places, which I think of as a town website, but it'll also go out on the town's Facebook page.
Social media, yeah.
Yeah, social media. I don't know how to talk about it. So, okay.
No, and I
But no, good
appreciate
question.
that. That's where
Yeah.
people see it more, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing I did is, I don't know if Alicia has any of these. I did get a chance to talk to the town manager's office today, and there were letters of interest from before, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't actually, to quote my dad's favorite, one of my dad's favorite expressions, shake the trees with the people who put out letters of interest in the past. And actually, Pauline had a letter of interest in the past also. She's with us this evening. And so she's also hearing that we're going to be looking for letter of interest to fill the vacant seat on the trust. And James excuse me?
That sounds good.
Would you like to ask her if she's interested? Since she's-
I assume she'd hear me and jump in. Oh, she's in. Hey, Pauline.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you, Cindy. I'll reserve comment at the moment if that's all right with y'all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry that we didn't see you at the select board meeting last week, Pauline.
I was in
Yeah.
South Carolina zooming in. I don't know how you missed me.
Oh, no, but we didn't see a letter of interest because you had expressed interest during the meeting last month to be a member of the Devon Study Committee.
I changed my
Anyway, we'll
mind.
talk about that later. We can talk about that
Sure
later.
enough. Thanks.
I'm trying to find James. I think I let him in.
I haven't known.
He's joining still. Okay, let's give it a moment. Thanks, Cindy.
So we need to vote on,
Yep. Yeah, James is in the middle of joining, so why don't we finish this? So it's been moved and seconded, I believe, that
Yeah.
we publish for it. Sean, how do you vote?
Aye.
Cindy?
aye.
Pat, are you there? Chair votes aye. So that's 3 aye
Yes,
and 4 aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you,
are
Pat.
you there? Hello?
Yeah. We've
Oh,
lost
there
your,
you are. Okay, yeah, I'm back.
yep, we lost your video, but
Yeah,
that
that's
might be,
okay.
that might be better because the video takes up a lot of bandwidth.
Thanks a lot.
No, you know what it
I'm
is?
kidding, I'm kidding.
Your audio breaks up a lot. So,
Sorry. Okay,
yeah, I admitted James and it keeps saying joining. We're just not having a good Zoom day, are we, guys? I don't see anything I can do. He's just sitting there. There we go. Oh no, he disappeared. So
I think it might be.
go ahead.
I don't,
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was his connection.
Yeah, it's just it's gotta come together. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I spent the whole day in Zooms, so I had no trouble. Okay, so next on our agenda, and we'll catch James up when he joins us, is the agenda item says trust bylaw update for fall town meeting. if I may, Alicia, you can jump in and fill in the blanks. The history on this is that it was brought to our attention that we did not have an independent audit done of the trust books. There's James. Good evening, James. You're muted. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the agenda screen. Okay. James, if you can hear me, we're moving through the agenda, and we're currently handling the item called Trust Bylaw Update for Fall Town Meeting. And we'll catch you up on the other items in a few minutes. So it seems after discussion of the last couple of meetings for people who weren't here, that there are a couple of directions they need to go in. One is to adjust the bylaw language so it doesn't call for an independent audit. And the other question that we had, and we've been trying to get a meeting with the town treasurer, is if the audit needs to happen, if we only have sourced from CPC or if we have funds sourced from other places, independent funds. So there's a discussion that is that we hoped would have happened by now. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can see people again. Good evening, James.
Yeah, finally. Hello there. It's been a struggle trying to get on.
You know, MRPC is looking at this area of the world because it's an internet, it's not exactly an internet fair justice place. And I keep telling them, Ayer's fine, but not tonight. So, James, what we're discussing is, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's language in our bylaw that states we have to have an independent audit done on an annual basis.
Right.
And that was brought to our attention by Pauline. And there's some discussions that need to take place with the town treasurer and the town manager's office about bringing language to, about deciding which direction to go. Do we change the language? Or is the language correct and just doesn't encompass it? We're not understanding it appropriately. I've tried to get the town manager's office and Barbara's office and Alicia and me together, and it hasn't meshed due to vacations, believe it or not, and other things going on. So today I pulled in a favor and I asked Carly to put it on Robert's schedule that hopefully Alicia, Robert, and Barbara will become available so we can get this thing ironed out so that we can possibly bring it to the town meeting later this year.
Sounds good.
Yep. And we're kind of getting a pass right now on what we're doing in that Alicia does the current budget. The current accounting. It went to Barbara's office. The state has certified our numbers, I believe. Sean, you can correct me on that, but I think the state's already gone through and certified us for last year or is in the process of it. And we also did a secondary audit this year because of changes in the town accounting office. So it's been looked at a lot. So I don't think we're not in 100% compliance with the bylaw, but I think we're not I don't think anyone's going to come knocking on our door right now and haul us away because we're doing something specifically bad. But we want to get that squared away. Any questions or comments on this agenda item from anybody? Yeah, and be honest with you, not a whole lot's happened since the last meeting because we can't get the meeting together. Yes, Pauline, what would you like to add?
Well, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'm glad to see James is joined tonight. James, I hope you and Edith are both well. You are a commissioner of trust funds. I think those are the only two trusts in town, that the Commissioner of Trust Funds and the Affordable Housing Trust. Are the Commissioner of Trust Funds subject to audit every year?
Not to my knowledge. If we are, it's handled through the treasurer.
Okay.
not to my knowledge.
All right. I'm glad you're here because I was wanting to ask you that question. The statute under which the Affordable Housing Trust was formed, I believe requires an audit. I will go back and read that again. I participated in the bylaws for both this and the Housing Committee. I've also chatted with Janet Provodakis, and Janet has, I know, talked to Alicia. So I know I caused this quagmire for you guys, and I don't mean to have done that. But if we need an audit by state statute, we need an audit, however it's done. So please just tread lightly and don't rush to judgment for October 23rd is all I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, where we stand is we need to talk to the treasury, to the town accountant and the town council.
Can I just?
Yeah, Alicia, you get your hand
So
up?
an audit was done by the town. So an audit has been done, whether we needed a second audit, an independent audit. And the only funds that have gone in there are town funds. I think but that's what we're waiting to hear from the town accountant and not the town accountant, the town director of finance and treasurer and Robert's office. And I don't know if they're going to reach out to council on that as well. The same sense, I think you're right, Pauline. I think we do need to clear up the understanding of this and what is expected of us. So we don't mind at all that you brought up this question. We're just working on it, and with vacations and all, it's not going quite as fast as we thought.
And I know the Commissioner's Trust Fund is a little different because we don't even have a checkbook. Everything is handled through the town accountant's office. So that makes this a little different. So there's a good chance it's audited when the town is audited, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and James, that came up in earlier discussions in that currently all we're overseeing is the money for the rental assistance program. And we have no assets per se, or a bank account that would be building towards purchasing assets or purchasing more housing. And there's an open question that says, because it's being handled through the town and the town accounting offices, do we need to do it? So we really got to get somebody who can answer the question for us to answer it. It just hasn't happened because she says, I was away. Robert, believe it or not, I think had a day off, but Barbara's been away and Alicia has been away. So we just haven't been able to mesh all the groups yet. Yeah, Alicia.
That's it. I was just going to say, people have had 1 week each.
Yep, exactly. It's just been weird. So I'm going to close that. If there's nothing else on this one, we can close it up. We'll move on. We'll have more later. More information on that later. So next on our agenda is a discussion and vote on a 2024 CPC funding. And if I may just catch everybody up, because we haven't all been at the table last time, we discussed expanding the rental assistance program. We go from 30,000 to 60,000 to 72,000 so we can handle more families, because Alicia has been having more applicants, and she thinks upping it to 12 applicants is probably the right number going forward. So we discussed $72,000 as the request for CPC funds. And then there was a discussion around at the last trust meeting about also starting to build I don't want to call it a war chest, starting to build an account for for possible future use. And the number of $100,000 was discussed. So that makes the request at CPC $172,000. Colleen, who is away today, but she's communicated this to us, went to her CPC meeting and told them what happened at our meeting. And the response from CPC was, why don't you just ask for $200,000? It's a round number. So that's if I missed anything, please speak up, but I think that's where we stand. So what we're going to try and do is put together a request this evening and vote on it as the trust so that we can get a hearing done with the CPC, which I think happens in the first week and a half or so of, I didn't check my dates today, but it comes up pretty quick in August. I think it's the 3rd. if I'm not
I have
mistaken.
I have a question.
Yeah,
As far as families that we attempt to help, are we gonna try to base it on some kind of percentage, number, or are we just gonna keep going? Have we tried to make a decision? Are we gonna try to have a certain percentage, or how does that work?
you say a certain percentage of
I mean,
families?
Yeah, are we gonna try to base it on a certain percentage of families, how, because we say we want to add more, but because I'm quite sure we can, half of the time we probably could help, but I'm just trying to figure, what would be our stopping point?
Great question. Alicia, you want to respond to that, please?
I love this question, James. I do think that we need to have a bit of a discussion about what your goals as a trust is. Are you trying to build new housing? Are you trying to have a rental program? Are you trying to do both? And possibly, Sean, you've talked about mortgage assistance and things like that. How much of the money that you want to spend from CPC do you want to put into creating actually new stock? How much of it do you think goes well with, and I actually, from my point of view, it being in the office, I find having both is very important. But past 10 to 12, I don't know that we would go any farther than that. Because if we had 12, we would have helped all the families that had applied this time. Now, I do get requests every year, it goes up, but some of the families were on the upper end, and one of them might not have qualified if I had gone even further into their financials. So I'm assuming that we'll get probably an extra 3 to 5 applications next year, but as I say, each time we have people drop out, or they don't actually qualify because they have other income that they didn't, show. So I actually think opening it to 12 would not be a bad idea, because that will really beef out what we need.
I'm not against it, just that when we keep going to the voters, the public, about give us this, give us more and more. That's all I'm looking at. I think we need, and I don't know what that number should be, so don't misunderstand me. But we need to have some kind of goals. So if a voter asks, how many people are you attempting to help? I think we need some kind of goal and some kind of reason for having that number.
Agreed. Thank you, Cindy.
It was under the impression that we had some kind of hard and fast criteria.
Yes, we do.
So I don't see that as really being an issue. There's probably more people that could qualify, but it's not like, somebody like me is not going to go and apply and get accepted because I just don't meet the criteria. So, obviously we could change the criterion, but I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah, no. And James, I hear when you asked that question, I didn't really understand what you were asking. And then when you asked the question again, I think I heard, well, we keep growing this and growing it and growing it. At some point, we got to figure out what the cap's going to be. I think that's the question you were asking.
Yes.
And I think what Alicia's saying, and what we've discovered in the 18 months we've been involved in this, is that empirically, about a dozen seems to be the number that fits, for a lot of reasons. It's time consuming on Alicia's behalf.
Mm-hmm.
We have recently, I understand, Sean, we've got a social worker coming on board.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is we've hired a social
I
worker.
met with her today.
It's going to take a while for that but so I think we're stretched to the limit at this point, James, with what Alicia's doing. And, if the world was perfect and everyone got their data to us last year, 12 was the number of people we could handle.
Okay.
So that's why we got that. That's how the magic number of 12 came up, James. I don't think we're honestly trying to be, 6, 12, 18, 36, 72. I honestly think we're probably starting about there. And I would ask the other side of the question, because I thought a lot about this, and I don't want to jump ahead, but do we really want a bank account with $100,000 in it, or 100 and whatever the balance is, 128,000? do we need to do that, or should we be doing that?
What would we have it for? I don't think we need to sit around and just have a bank account sitting there, because a lot of people are gonna look at it as a nest egg. Why do you need that? I mean, I don't know if because I've been away for a few meetings. I don't know if we need it. If we do need it, I guess we got to justify what would we need it for.
Yeah, I think that's the question. I think you put it much better than me, James. That's exactly what I was saying is, it's going to be a tough conversation. At some point in the future, I imagine, you got this money you put away, and maybe Alicia can speak to it, or somebody else, but someone said to me, well, what if you want to enter into a deal for a piece of property? You've got money. I don't know if that can happen without the vote of town meeting. I just don't understand. I don't know the ins and outs of how that happens. So I can't say either way. Go ahead, Alicia, please.
I can speak to this. So for the same thing that they did with the open space, if they transfer some of the money, there's different philosophies on this. Some people feel that it should always go to town meeting, so the town gets to choose how they spend their money. They do have the right, the CPC has the right with town vote to transfer money into the categories that it's been allotted to. And if there's a trust and an ability to handle that money. And then you have the responsibility to go out and decide how that money is going to be spent. One of the ways it could be spent, say, NOAA, our 40B comes back for phase 2, and you have some money in the bank. They could come to the trust without going to the town meeting and have the trust fund them. Say a piece of property comes up that we think is a perfect piece of property for building some more housing. The trust can then enter into a deal and do this without going to town meeting. Now, I'm not advocating either one of these. I think there's argument for both. One of the reasons to have buy-in from the town is it's their money, and it's wonderful to have buy-in from everyone. One of the reasons to have the money moved over to the trust is for a time issue. It gives the trust the ability to plan and spend the money where they think it's, you're the experts right now in this area, and you've looked at it every month. We talk about what is needed and that sort of thing. So it does give you the ability to be a little more flexible and fast on moving on all these things. I see both sides of this, and so I don't want to give a recommendation. I think it's really about how the town feels and how the members here feel.
Just a clarifying question, please. So Alicia, you're saying that once the CPC transfers money, we don't have to go back to the town meeting.
Correct.
We might want to do that just because it, number one, it looks better. Number two, you get people on board, then they're much more likely to, obviously, to support it. Am I understanding that right? That's what you're saying?
Correct, but you don't have to go back, and it gets a little confusing if you go back, because they think they can vote it down and you still have the right to spend it on it. So it's the concept that as professionals, we'll say, let's just use conservation. A piece of open space comes on the market. Conservation needs to go fast. And I used, for example, there was a property on the market down by Grove Pond that went within 24 hours, possibly within 12 hours. I had a couple people send it to me. The house needed to be torn down, and 2/3 of the property was in a floodplain. I didn't see that it was a good idea for housing. They thought it was a good idea for housing. It went for a lot of money and there was a lot of cleanup to be done because the house needed to be torn down. But that's neither here nor there. But if that had been a property that we wanted to look at for housing, and we would go to and take out do an RFP and have somebody come in and build us housing, a nonprofit come in and build us housing, we could have moved fast, possibly in that 12 hours if we wanted to.
I don't see how we can possibly assume that a piece of property comes up for sale and we're going to have time to go back to town meeting. That timing is almost certainly not going to work out. But on the
Which
other
is-
hand, I don't want the whole town angry that we bought property without their say-so. What were you going to say,
Yes.
Sean?
Well, I think so. Part of it is I think that was, the town voted in favor of creating this trust. So part of being a trust is that you're empowered to do these things. So in a sense, yes, would there be people that were upset? Absolutely. But town meeting overwhelmingly approved the formation of this trust, knowing what the goals and the objectives were of this trust. And that's why I was advocating for building up this reserve of funds. And that's why I think it's the better approach than waiting, for 2 times a year to possibly ask for permission to do the job that we were empowered to do anyways.
Thank you.
I think that's very, very, very well spoken, Sean. Honestly. And I have zero qualms about asking for an amount of money based on that. And I think about it this way also. There are funds that the select board has that they need to have in order to do things. And yeah, people get upset, but it happens. That's
Mhm.
part of what we do in the public interest sometimes just can't wait for the public. We have to, so
Mm.
I'm much more comfortable with asking why at this point. And then, as many of you know, when Colleen said, well, the number would be $100,000 for a future move of some sort, it would give us some flexibility, and $72,000 for the rental assistance program. And the feedback was, why don't you just make it $200,000 from CPC? With that said, any other questions or discussion about this? And maybe we put a motion together and move it to the next level, because there is an upcoming meeting. And so, does anybody want? Who did we lose?
Pat,
Pat.
Okay, but we still have a quorum.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, James.
So the motion, if there's no other discussion, I guess I can make the motion that
Please.
the trust approve the request for the rental assistance funds and the affordable housing request funds in the amount of $272,000 from the CPC. Is that correct?
I'm going to make a friendly solution. I think the total amount was 200 was intended.
Oh,
A
200,000.
flat 200. Yeah.
Okay.
I know where you're going, Sean. And
Yep.
I like your game plan.
You're right. I misunderstood. Yes. So
No worries, man.
I'll second it so we can really discuss it. I'll second it.
Thank you, James. So moved and seconded, $200,000 from CPC at the upcoming fall town meeting. Further discussion on this?
Now, I guess we will have to be able to try to explain it to the town, because they're gonna pretend they don't know what it is. When you go up asking for money, they're gonna pretend they never heard it before, and that's okay. But I just want us to be in the position to explain it in a way that people understand it. Now, you're right, Sean. Some people are gonna be upset, some not. But if we believe what we're doing and we explain it, that's all we can do.
Yeah, agreed. Very well said. And go ahead, Cindy.
before it goes to town meeting, though, it actually has to be approved by CPC, correct?
Yeah.
So
And that's August 3rd the request will be at the August 3rd CPC meeting.
and then
And
to the town meeting, correct?
yes, so it goes to CPC, they say, sorry, Cindy, it goes to CPC, they say yes or no. And then it goes to town meeting in October,
And it goes to a public hearing between that too.
in September. Yes, in
Yes.
September.
So
So-
there will be feedback from the public.
Exactly. I don't have with me, Alicia, our last request for the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, I thought I sent it to you, but maybe I didn't.
I just, so all my town stuff lives on a thumb drive. That thumb drive's upstairs on my desk, on my other desk. So if with the trust permission, I will write out the request, increasing the affordable rental assistance program to $72,000, and the balance of the 200, which is 100, I think 128,000 off the top of my head, to be placed as funds for future use by the trust. And I'll get that over, and I'll get that to Alicia for the request next week. Okay, and with the board, with the trust permission, I'll sign that and send it over through Alicia's office to CPC, okay?
Right.
Thank you. We just covered rental assistance funds and affordable housing requests all at the same time on our agenda.
We have
Next
to-
is go ahead.
We need to vote on this?
Thank you, Cindy.
On the
Oh.
floor.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but Sean, would you mind restating the motion because
Yes.
got a little,
So I will make a motion that the trust approve the request of $200,000, $72,000 for rental assistance, and $128,000 for future use for affordable housing from the CPC.
thank you.
And Sean, could I ask, would you consider it friendly to say, and the trust requests that the interim chair complete the paperwork and submit it on their behalf?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to cover all the, I know we've done this in the past some ways. I just want to make sure. Okay, great. We've got Pat back, even though she's come up as Ron again. Are you there, Pat?
I am here.
So where we're at right now is $200,000 total as a CPC request. 72,000 will be for rental assistance. The balance of 128,000 is going to be to start building funds for future use by the trust.
Awesome.
And we're going to vote on that's been moved and seconded. So we're going to vote. So Sean, how do you vote?
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
chair votes aye, pass unanimously. I'll get that to you tomorrow, Alicia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is public comment, and I'm going to make a comment. In the future, this will be first on the agenda. Alicia and I passed like ships in the night. She sent something to me as I left town for 2 days. I got back and we didn't have, that's why it's at the bottom, not the top.
I swore, like I thought this was a discussion before about placement.
It did. It got discussed
Okay.
before, and I'm not throwing anybody. It's my fault. I ended up going away unexpectedly. I had no idea we had a family reunion out in Western Massachusetts on Bonnie's side. Public comment. Pauline, you're our public tonight. Anything else you want to add?
I'm good. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thanks. Upcoming meetings. It seems like the last Wednesday really works, but it's 5 Wednesdays in August.
Okay.
Our choices are the 23rd or the 30th.
The last Wednesday.
The
Last
30th.
Wednesday is the 30th.
I like that.
Like that works for me.
Likely not be in town, the last one. But you can do it without me.
I'm gonna miss you.
No, no, you won't.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping we'll have some
I will
applicants
miss her.
for the chair. Okay, so 6:15 work for people?
Perfect.
Okay, so next meeting will be August 30th, Wednesday at 6:15 p.m. Great. There we go. Anything else anybody wants to add to the general scrum at this point? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. So moved.
Second.
Perfect. All in favor, all opposed. Anyway, thank you all, everybody, and have a wonderful month of August. And let's hope it doesn't rain every day in August too, okay?